Welcome everyone to the House of More Politics. Well, it seems like the tax return thing is really starting to heat up now because Kellyanne Conway was on CNN again and they were asking her about the tax returns. Listen to what she had to say.
Let's talk about Donald Trump's tax records. When can we expect to see them?
When his lawyer and his accountants tell him that he should release them when he's no longer under audit. He's made that very clear.
Has Donald Trump, or will he release anything from the IRS, a letter from the IRS proving that he's under audit?
I'm sorry?
Will Donald Trump release anything from the IRS proving that he's under audit?
I don't know. Why? In other words, why are you calling him a liar?
Well, we're taking his word for it.
Are you calling him a liar? And we're taking Hillary Clinton's word for it that she was overheated and didn't have pneumonia, or that she's going to be aspirational uplifting, or she's going to start talking to the press again. I mean, seriously, we're running against a Clinton and we're going to challenge someone's veracity?
The founder of LinkedIn, Reid Hoffman, is offering to give veterans groups $5 million if Donald Trump releases his tax records. That sounds like a great deal for veterans. That's obviously a cause close to Mr. Trump's heart. Will this be an impetus for him, despite we know what his lawyers have said, but the IRS has said that he can release it. They will not punish him. Lots of tax attorneys have said he can release it. He will not be punished. Will he release it now, given this motivation?
No, but I hope that that man thinks so much of the veterans that he would give them $5 million whether or not Mr. Trump defies the advice of his lawyer and his accountant and releases his taxes. And I also would love to tell you, Allison, that I've looked at the CNN poll, I've looked at everybody's polling, I look at our own polling. I just can't find where this is a burning issue to most of Americans. It goes right back to what Hillary Clinton said. To be so dismissive of tens of millions of Americans also means that people around here and elsewhere think that somehow the issues that are vexing Americans are not economy, jobs, terrorism, healthcare, immigration, education. Exactly what they tell the CNN pollsters, exactly what we hear in our own polling.
Okay. Why do we want to see tax returns of our future presidents? Why? And I had that question myself. Like, why do we need to see a president's tax returns? When was the first time that we did this? Because the income tax was only, the income tax is not that old. It was implemented under Woodrow Wilson. So why do they want to see, and this was like the 1912, 1910, somewhere up in there. Why do they, so about 100 years, why do they want to see tax returns? Well, it goes back to Richard Nixon in the 1960s. You got to read New York Times report. The New York Times report, it gave a brief history of what happened, and I'm just gonna regurgitate some of that stuff I just read. For the most part, this started back in 1969 when Richard Nixon sold his presidential papers, some of his private papers, to a museum, and he got a $500,000 tax write-off. And because of that, he filed tax returns based on a married family with 3 kids back in those days. So technically, he made about $800 that year or something. Go back and read. I'm gonna put a link below. You can go read it. And because of that, now this is way before Watergate. Because of that, he was going through an audit at the time. The IRS wanted to see, because back in 1973. Now he did this back in 1969. In 1973 is when they came out with this law that said that his presidential papers, or his what he thought was his private papers, were actually public papers. Congress came out with that conclusion, and I agree with that. A president is not private, and when it comes to his presidential papers, his policy making, his whatever diary he may keep in the White House or whatever, if he keeps a diary. I know Ronald Reagan kept a diary, and they made a book out of it. So that he was going through an audit at the time, just like Donald Trump. Donald Trump was going through an audit, and he was pressured because he wasn't going to release his returns. He was pressured by the public and the press to finally release his returns, which is what he did. That's why we found out that he had got this $500,000 tax write-off for giving up his papers. Now, you say tax write-off because he made about $400,000 that year. The tax write-off is he was pretty much paid that $500,000 by giving his papers up. He filed a tax return saying, I gave this away at a cost of $500,000. So that's why we asked to see tax returns. And here is a famous line. I did not know it came from this. I thought that this line came from the Watergate scandal. But listen to Richard Nixon and what he said about that investigation.
And I want to say this to the television audience. I made my mistakes. But in all of my years of public life, I have never profited from public service. I've earned every cent. And in all of my years of public life, I have never obstructed justice. And I think, too, that I can say that in my years of public life, that I welcome this kind of examination, because people have got to know whether or not their president is a crook. Well, I'm not a crook. I've earned everything I've got.
President?
Yes, sir.
And just like that New York Times article concluded, we want to make sure that our presidents are not a crook. We want to make sure that our presidents don't profit from their office. Now, you're not using your office as a stepping stone, which is why you can't get anything on the Clintons, because they've been in public life too long. They're too smart and know how to bend the rules on what can be seen and what cannot be seen and what they need to file on their taxes. They'll be happy. The Clintons will be happy to release their returns because they know there's nothing in them that's going to contradict them in running for office. That's just the nature of the beast. And you got Donald Trump. Now, with Donald Trump, we want to make sure that he don't have Russian business partners, that we want to know what his tax rate is. Mitt Romney lost the election last year because he was paying only a 12% return, but the man was worth $250 million. So that's one of the reasons why he lost the election in 2012. So that's why. So for her, Kellyanne Conway, for her to ask, are we calling him a liar? No, but technically we are, because if we don't know what's in his returns, we can only make our own assumptions as to what's in there. Now, if you don't want to be seen as a certain way, release your returns. But you'll be afraid to release your returns because you're afraid of how they're going to be scrutinized. And the longer you wait, the more they're going to eat at you when they get them. Just like they did Mitt Romney. Mitt Romney waited till a month before the election, released the returns, and they dogged him the whole damn month. So, yes, we are calling you a liar. Until you release the returns, we will call you a liar. We are going to make assumptions as to what's in those returns until you release them. You say you love the troops. You say you donate the troops. How much have you donated? When have you donated? Release those returns. Release the returns that are not under audit. The IRS says you can release your returns. Now, his lawyers and his accountants are saying don't release them. And I understand why. Because he can be in litigation. He releases his tax statements. Now that person that got a plaintiff against him can say, hey, look at his tax returns. He's lying, and they can win the case. So that's why I think that's one of the reasons why he's afraid to release his returns. Also, I think he's afraid to release his returns is he's not worth $10 billion plus. He's not. His empire, the licenses of his brand, his name, when he got Trump Taj Mahal and Trump this and Trump that, his brand is worth about $10 billion. His liquidity, the money he has in the bank, is probably about $250 to $400 million. That's a lot of damn money. More money than I got. Hey guys, look, I didn't realize I went this far, this long, but let me know what you think. Subscribe to the channel, comment on the post. Yeah, I don't know. Just let me know what you guys think. Until the next video, guys. Peace.